Hey, thanks for tuning in. I'm Mike Smithgall, the unelected mayor of Atheistville, and this is today's Mic Drop. Religious arguments have a pattern. When people don't understand something, they often insert God into the mystery. Thunder must be Zeus, illness must be punishment, the stars must be a message. The approach is sometimes called the God of the Gaps argument. But history shows us something remarkable. Every time science shines a light onto one of these gaps, the divine explanation shrinks. We've watched this happen again and again, and the pattern continues today. And here's what should worry anyone building their worldview on these gaps. You're betting your entire understanding of reality on ignorance staying ignorant. That's a losing wager. If you trace human history, you see a steady retreat of supernatural explanations. The Greeks thought lightning bolts were Zeus, hurling anger from the sky. Benjamin Franklin flies a kite, and suddenly electricity is natural, not divine. Epilepsy was once seen as possession by demons. Now neurology explains seizures as misfiring neurons. Even the structure of the universe followed the same path. For centuries, religion insisted Earth was the center of creation. Copernicus, Galileo, Kepler challenged that dogma with evidence of heliocentrism. Religious authorities resisted, sometimes violently, but the evidence held, the divine claim lost. Picture it like a retreating army. First, they lose the coastline, that's lightning and disease. Then they lose the plains, that's astronomy and geology. And now they're holed up on the mountains, defending the last high ground. But the mountains aren't safe either. They never have been. And the lesson is clear. Each time science advances, supernatural claims retreat. And the retreat isn't random, it's predictable. Religion holds ground in ignorance and yields ground when explanations arrive. Now, fast forward to today. Believers no longer point to lightning or disease as proof of God. Those battles are lost. Instead, they point to what's left. The hard problems at the edges of science, consciousness, the origin of life, the fine-tuning of the universe. These are fascinating mysteries, but let's be specific about what's actually happening in these fields. Consciousness isn't just a philosophical puzzle anymore. Neuroscientists are mapping neural networks, identifying which brain regions light up during different experiences. They're studying patients with split brains, people with damaged areas, and are slowly piecing together how consciousness emerges from brain activity. The origins of life? Researchers aren't just speculating, they're creating protocells in laboratories, simple structures that can replicate and evolve. They're identifying how RNA might have preceded DNA. They're finding organic compounds in meteorites and deep-sea vents. The puzzle isn't solved, but the pieces are coming together. Even cosmology and fine-tuning aren't untouchable mysteries. Physicists are exploring multiverse theories, examining whether the constants of nature could be different, and asking whether our universe is actually fine-tuned or whether we're just observers who happen to exist in a universe where observation is possible. But if history is a guide, betting on God did it is a short-term wager. Science has closed every previous gap. Why assume the current ones are any different? To rest your faith on what we don't know today is to guarantee future disappointment when explanations arrive tomorrow. Now, the God of the Gaps strategy has a fatal flaw: permanence. Religious believers use gaps as proof of God, but gaps are temporary. When those gaps close, the proof evaporates. This isn't just a problem for science education, it's a problem for faith itself. If your faith depends on mysteries staying unexplained, your faith will shrink as knowledge grows. That's not sustainable. It's like building your house on a shrinking island. Eventually, you're going to end up underwater. Now, contrast that with science. Science thrives on the unknown. A gap is not a threat, it's an invitation. Every unanswered question is a research agenda. Every puzzle fuels curiosity. Where faith requires ignorance, science requires inquiry. That's why the God did it answer is intellectually lazy. It stops research. It declares victory before the investigation even begins. Saying God did it may feel comforting, but it guarantees stagnation. And stagnation, in a world that keeps moving forward, is really moving backward. All right, quick pause. If you haven't subscribed yet, I would love to have you join the community here at Atheistville. We're building a space for honest conversations about faith, about doubt, reason. Subscribing is absolutely free, and it helps more people find these discussions, and it keeps the project growing. And I want to ask you to do one more thing. Leave me a comment. I read every single one of these, and whether we agree or we disagree, I promise you I will always respond respectfully. And your comments don't just shape the conversation, they also show the algorithm that this community is worth recommending. All right, let's get back to it. Believers often claim that invoking God brings certainty, but that certainty is an illusion. It's no more certain than saying Zeus did it before Franklin's kite, or demons cause epilepsy before neurology. Here's the trap. False certainty feels better than honest uncertainty. It's easier to say God works in mysterious ways than to admit we don't know yet, but we're working on it. But easy answers aren't always right answers. And here's where the personal stakes get really serious. When you choose false certainty over honest inquiry, you're not just making an intellectual mistake. You're choosing to live in a smaller world. You're choosing to stop learning when learning could save your life. Think about it practically. If your child gets sick and you choose prayer over medicine because God will provide, you're betting their health on the gap that medicine has already filled. If you've rejected vaccines because you trust divine protection over human science, you're risking not only your own life, but your community's. Certainty without evidence is counterfeit confidence. It feels solid until reality proves otherwise. The God of the gaps argument has failed at every stage in history, yet it keeps being recycled for whatever mystery remains. Science, in contrast, offers provisional knowledge. Scientists admit uncertainty. Theories are tested, they're refined, sometimes completely replaced. That humility is a strength, not a weakness. It means the answers get better over time. The God did it answer never improves. It always stays the same, and it always gets weaker in the face of progress. So let's talk about what you're actually risking when you bet on the gaps. It's not just your understanding of lightning or epilepsy, it's your entire relationship with reality. When you choose God did it over let's find out, you're training yourself to stop asking questions. You're building a mental habit of accepting mysteries instead of solving them. That habit doesn't stay confined to religious topics, it spreads. Atheism is often caricatured as belief in nothing, but that misses the point. The absence of gods is not the absence of meaning. What replaces God did it is not despair, it's empowerment. It's a recognition that when problems arise, humans can solve them. When mysteries appear, humans can investigate them. When suffering happens, humans can alleviate it. Think about how much richer our world is because we chose curiosity over myth. Instead of saying the stars are signs, we learned astrophysics and we put satellites in orbit. Instead of saying illness is a curse, we developed vaccines and antibiotics. Instead of saying lightning is a wrath, we built power grids that light up cities. The worldview that trusts curiosity and evidence has given us medicine, space exploration, and the internet that lets you and I have this conversation right now. The worldview that trusted the gaps gave us fear, superstition, and stagnation. Which would you rather bet your future on? More importantly, which would you rather bet your children's future on? The shrinking space where God hides gets smaller every time science flips a switch. That doesn't mean we'll answer every mystery tomorrow or even in our lifetime. But history shows us that science has a consistent track record of progress. Religion has a consistent track record of retreat. And here's what that retreat costs us as a society. Every time we say, that's just how God made it, instead of, how does this actually work? We lose an opportunity. We lose the chance to improve medicine, to solve engineering problems, and to understand our own minds better. But the bigger cost is cultural. When gaps in knowledge become sacred territory, where inquiry isn't welcome, we create a society that's afraid of questions. We raise children who think curiosity is dangerous and that some truths are off limits. If God exists only in the gaps, then God is in retreat. And the bigger story isn't the retreat itself, it's what replaces it: knowledge, understanding, and empowerment. Each time a gap closes, humanity gains tools to live better, healthier, and freer lives. So when you hear someone say God must explain what science cannot, remember history. Remember that statement has never aged well. And remember what's at stake, not just your beliefs, but your willingness to keep learning in a world that rewards curious and leaves behind those who stop asking questions. The God of the Gaps argument isn't a fortress for faith, it's quicksand. Every advance of knowledge pulls it down further, and anyone standing on that quicksand is going down with it. That's why I trust curiosity and evidence over certainty without proof. It's why I choose the discomfort of honest uncertainty over the false comfort of sacred mysteries. All right, so that's my 2 cents, unblessed and unfiltered. Agree or disagree, that's what I got for you today. Now, if you found value in this episode, please like and subscribe and share this with someone else that you think might enjoy it. And if you'd like to join me in a future conversation here in Atheistville, reach out. I'd love to hear your story. And until next time, take care, and remember, reason and compassion go a long way.